Hey everybody, Joy Boy here, the Joy you can trust, back with the Walking Dead roast map video, featuring Rose? Are you the doctor? No. I'm Joy Bully, Joy you can trust, but I'll play doctor with you. Whatever. I like being a wizard anyways. So Rose Tyler from Doctor Who got kicked out of the TARDIS and has been left in the RTS Universe and is now obtainable in her 6-star form. As for Rose's stats, it's nothing spectacular as she is just average all around, and there isn't really much to talk about when something is average. For a support role survivor, the attack stat is never going to be that strong, as their strengths should be revolving around staying alive long enough to support the team through lowering the attack and defenses of our enemies, along with other crowd controls such as confuses, taunts, stuns, and impairs. Her defense and HP stat are your standard support stats, so there really isn't much to discuss here, as it's going to be very similar to what you have already encountered and what you have with you already. Let's run through Rose's character card and first take a look at the leadership skill. Her leadership skill is not made for raiding, folks. It is made for farming, just like Gators. We have Gator for those heavy yellow-blue human maps and for Walker stages. We can now use Rose for those heavy red-green human stages. And as for Walker stages, unless you're going to camouflage your entire team, then camouflage isn't really that effective. The point of camouflage is to get a free turn versing Walkers, and if one person is not camouflaged, then the Walkers will continue to close in on our survivors in the middle of the screen. As for Adrenaline Rush, we get lowish mediocre damage to a line of enemies, which is nothing special. The next part is Rose's strong suit though. So normally we just get straight up minus defenses and we either kill the enemy due to their paper thin defenses, or we fail to kill them and then they pop off an Adrenaline Rush that could potentially harm our team. But in Rose's case, she will lower the defenses of her enemy, and if you fail to kill them, I wouldn't expect heavy damage coming from them for the next 2 turns, which is a nice damage control feature, seeing as you're lowering their attack stat by 60%. As for the last 2 parts of her Adrenaline Rush, I feel they are very lackluster. The crit is low, and I am not a fan of it because if you're going to kill Walkers, you are going to have somebody on your team that buffs more than 30 crit, and they will probably buff the entire team. Maybe this Adrenaline Rush, crit-wise, can be a filler crit buff in between your high crit Adrenaline Rush buffs, but that is the only thing I can see this crit buff being useful to its fullest. And if you're gonna buff 30 crit in a 6-star era, I feel you should just be applying that to the entire team, as the amount of crit you get is extremely low. Now for the camouflage, I mentioned this earlier, and if you were not going to camouflage your entire team, just don't give a survivor camouflage as a 6-star, as the Walkers will still continue to move towards them, because not everybody is camouflaged. Rose has a camouflage Adrenaline Rush similar to what 3-star Red Michonne gets. I feel this should have been a full team camouflage for 1 turn, just like Gators. Rose's active is stun to 1 enemy for 2 turns. A very strong active indeed, especially if you are going to attack someone that has any type of negative effect when they take damage. This goes for stun, impairs, confuses, and taunts in survival mode for when Walkers and people take damage, and this also goes for raids. I would try to bring in another hard crowd control active with Rose in case the enemy has high stun resistances. Having this able to be used turn 2 with a 2-turn cooldown is pretty sex too, by the way, and lets you know this active is extremely useful for raiding, as turn 2 is a very pivotal point in raiding. Rose's weapon is pretty straightforward here. We will want to apply a defense or HP weapon stat, any of your choice, based on what you have lying around and what sort of leadership skill you're going to be using. AP when attacking, so that if we choose to get 30 AP per attack, then we will only need 6 AP worth of damage to use her Adrenaline Rush, which isn't asking for much and can allow for turn 2 Adrenaline Rush usages. Stun for the last weapon slot, as it is pretty powerful and it allows to stun enemies so that their special weapon mods cannot be used against us. Time for combat mod, folks. Let's roll with a defense or health set. Depending on what set you go with, I would recommend the opposite stat mod. So if you go defense set, then go health combat mod, and vice versa. For the trait mod, I would recommend attack versus green if you're going to use Rose on offense. Seeing how tanky some of these teams get, you are going to want to squeeze in as much damage as possible. If you are running Rose on defense, I would go defense versus blue so she can stay alive long enough to get her AR popping. Stun resist, as we will be running a stun gun on her and we want that to stay effective. These next choice of combat mods depends what you run with Rose. If you are attacking with her and you run a Lacerator, then Bleed would be a good choice. If you don't have someone running a Burn yet, then this can also be a good choice, as giving your weakest attack stat person Burn on attack is a good call. If you run Rose on defense, I would look at using Graze to help keep her alive longer. For the final wildcard combat mod, I would run AP down. She doesn't apply a lot of damage to give the enemy AP, so the AP down proccing would net more AP loss compared to a high damage dealer's AP down proccing. For team comps, I will do 2 attack teams and 1 defense team. First attack team, we will run a Spencer leader for his attack and defense leadership skill. Spencer and Rose adrenaline rushes, we can stagger to make sure whoever we are attacking, we will be attacking somebody with lower defenses. We can lower defenses and stun with Spencer, or if we are fine with them using their adrenaline rushes, we can lower defense and attack with Rose. Both have stun active for special weapon modifiers, and we have Sadiq for his confuse active if stun resist is heavy on the enemy team. We bring in command Sadiq, as once Rose applies her defense down to a line of enemies, we can then command decapitate Tyrese just to wipe them out very easily. If you feel you need a disarmer for turn 1, or you don't feel like using actives unless you are forced to due to bad luck, then Lewis can be a good option. If you are looking for another crowd control to go with your stun and confuse based team, then you can bring in Governor for his neutralize, adding impair to your team now. Second attack team will be made for smash and some melee. Madison for her leadership skill, bleed damage, and stun active. Rose combined with Decapitate Alpha is a nice combination, as the lower defenses will help land decapitates. We will have a command with us for one of our last 3 damage dealers. Victor if we need more impairs or a neutralize. Anna for a turn 2 active taunt to 3 and heavy single target burst. Shiva for a nice single target burst with 2 confuses to follow afterwards, and a single target stun active. This team allows you to have plenty of CC to make sure you can do whatever you want with your enemy to make sure we can slow down their adrenaline rushes. As for the defense team, we will be running an Erica for her leadership skill and high pressure defensive adrenaline rush. To combine with this, we will also bring in Mackenzie in case Erica is focused, so that we still have a reviver and a healer alive to keep the team going. Magna is our human shield, so that we are forced to bring in a focus active or someone with a focus-based adrenaline rush to deal just with her. If anything goes wrong while trying to get around Magna, we can for sure know that our defense team will probably win the battle. While Erica or Mackenzie are getting blasted, we will have Rose and Rick's adrenaline rushes popping off, and if no one on our team is dead at this point, then we can almost lock in the win for the fight, as the majority of the enemy team will have some serious negative attack buffs on them, allowing for our team to recoup and restart. That's going to wrap up the video on Rose. Are you all going to be going for Rose out of the 3? I don't see too many people going for her, as I see the majority going for a defensive princess, or if they want to take the offensive route, they're going to go with Brian. But let me know if anybody else out there is going to go for Rose. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the video, to make you laugh and forge you leave positive, please give that a karate chop, that like, subscribe button. Make sure you leave a comment down below. Sports greatly appreciated. And on that, I'll catch you all in the next video. Bye bye.